Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, here as always with Jon Tran.
What's up, guys?
Ready to break down the Longhorns' victory over Baylor as we head into the bye week. 6-1 and in sole possession of first place in the Big 12. We have a lot to break down, a lot to unpack from this Baylor game. I want to start off again saying thank you to Eric and Lizzie for the amazing opportunity, the tickets. I know I ran into my boy Ed there and some other guys that are fans of the channel. And they definitely asked about you. You're actually celebrating your son's third birthday.
Yep.
Which is a big deal. So, but as you're celebrating, you got to see the Longhorns victory. So I was at the game and I did my whole, I did a little post-game thing at the stadium. But I've heard a lot of scuttlebutt about the broadcast and just some things going on. And there were some things that happened in the stadium, starting off with the Sam Ehlinger injury, where, when you're sitting in the stands, you got to really text people at home. Like, what are they saying on TV and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So as you're watching the game, real time, injury happens, what goes through your mind?
So what was going through my mind is I was actually watching it with my family and my wife's mother, so my mother-in-law, she's a nurse, so she actually saw the cut on his hand before he even came out of the game. She said, "Oh, his hand's cut open. They might have to call him out." I said, "No, they usually only do that for basketball. Football, they kind of let it play on unless it's absolutely just unstoppable bleeding." And then they pulled him over. They put him in the tent. And he started running to the tunnel, and he comes back 15-20 minutes later. One thing I noticed is he was walking out and his left arm was swinging, but his right arm was just staying still, and it looked like it was just lowered. And I was saying that's something worse than a hand. And they ended up coming forward and saying that. And that's the thing that worries me, because his game is he's not a pure pocket passer. He's a person who you have to
dual threat quarterback.
Yeah, he's definitely dual threat, and he's a physical dual threat. He's not finesse. He's not Kyler Murray. And that's one of the things that I'm worried about. I don't know if you are. I want to get your
So one of the things that we've been kind of talking and texting about, as we just conversed out the week, is you brought the question to me. Should they sit him for the Oklahoma State game?
For a little extra rest.
One more week. And I think we kind of defer there. I mean, I think you're like, hey, if they can get Shane Buechele ready to play, and we'll touch on Shane's game against Baylor in a second, but if they can get Shane ready to play, have a good game plan for him, shouldn't we be able to go into Stillwater and win that game with Shane and give Sam a little bit more rest? I'm of the opinion that we need Sam.
I absolutely agree that we need Sam, and he's definitely our best option at quarterback. And there's after that game, anyone who has any complaints about that,
But your concern is jeopardizing
his future
long term.
Actually, not just his future, but the whole Texas Longhorns' future.
Sure.
If you
it's
look
tied together.
The same exact injury happened to Sam Bradford in the BYU game the year that he was going into the draft. The BYU game, he gets laid out. I think he had a grade 1 sprain as well. Comes back and plays against Texas, and Aaron Williams hits him just a normal NFL tackle.
Drove him to the ground.
He separated his AC joint, and he didn't throw. He didn't throw until his pro day, like you mentioned. And that's if he's not the best passing quarterback in the nation by any means, but he has the ability to fine-tune things, and
he's found some consistency.
Yes.
He's found real consistency within this offense, within the framework of this team. So that's commendable. My thing is, Shane really struggled.
No. Yeah.
Shane really struggled. And some of that to me, let's just go ahead and get into that. Some of that to me was rust. He's coming into the middle of a conference game against a team that was 4-2. And by the way, we got to pat ourselves on the back. We told y'all Baylor was going to cover. It's not that I'm happy that I'm right or anything like that, because I would have loved to see a blowout win. But I had people asking me all week, like, why didn't we should have stepped on their necks and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, guys, first off, they were a good team that you saw. They had both their NFL wide receivers showed up. And yes, Denzel Mims and Jalen Hurts are going to play on Sundays. They both played well. Defensively, they were able to key in on some stuff because once Sam Ehlinger's not in the game, we're one-dimensional. The threat of quarterback run was eliminated. The defensive end no longer has to stay home. And Keontae Ingram still ate, regardless, right? But Shane really, really struggled with that rust. Just the intensity having to come in, not taking a single snap all year. I think he's taken him almost 95% of the snaps, even in practice with first team. So yes, he's been getting the mental reps, but when you come into a situation like that, it's really, really tough.
And I was actually, my brother was here too for my son's birthday as well, and he played for Texas. And I was talking to him when he threw that deep pass to Colin Johnson for the touchdown. We both said, we looked at each other and go, that's a blessing and a curse for Shane. And my dad looked at us and said, "What are you talking about?" And we said,
just go
I said, "Well, it's a blessing we got the touchdown. It's a curse that he's going to get overconfident." And you watched twice during the game, he threw deep post into double coverage when you shouldn't have done that at all. Both times he threw an interception. I don't care. It was an interception. I mean, the offensive pass interference call for Colin Johnson, I'd be upset too if I was a Baylor fan until I saw the Denzel Mims.
Yeah, Denzel Mims. So I don't understand
so that cancels out.
Not that two wrongs make a right, but
those two cancel out because they both were for touchdowns. But yeah, he forced it. He started getting too.
We've been. I mean, both quarterbacks have been really shaky on, for whatever reason, throwing deep posts. And that seems to be Devin Duvernay's route. He obviously caught a touchdown where he laid out in the Maryland game. We haven't been able to connect on that with him in particular since then. Because one of the things watching the game in the stands, you can see the routes develop down the field that you can't really see on TV. As soon as he climbed up on that safety, I'm like, oh, that's a touch. Just because I'm like, there's no way he's going to be able to cover him across the field. But he throws the ball back inside the hash mark. And the guy that's already beat behind him is able to run underneath the football and catch it. And so we have to, if we're able, that's like the final phase of our offense, by the way, whether it's Sam or Shane. If we can start hitting on those deep posts to Duvernay, that's only going to open up everything else. But going back to Shane, he had some, to me, he did show a little bit better mobility in the pocket. There were some times, there was a throw to Andrew Beck that he completed where he actually scrambled out and didn't put his head down like he used to, where he just would tuck the ball and fall down.
Yeah.
He actually tried to compete in the pocket and reset his feet and throw the ball down the field. There were some promising things there, but he just, even the accuracy, you didn't even see that from him, which is supposed to be his. And that's a credit to Colin Johnson. It's a credit to LJ Humphrey late in the game where he stepped up. He also stepped up when we needed to run quarterback power. And I was calling for it in the stands. I'm like, if you guys want to run quarterback power, then you need to put Humphrey in. And just do that. They did that on the goal line. They foolishly did it at the end of the game, which we'll get to that in a second. Keontae Ingram stepped up. What's your thoughts on the running back situation? Because he didn't step on the field until the second quarter, and he finished. How many yards he finished?
So I actually talked to Jason about that, my brother.
Okay.
He spoke. He said, "John, you gotta think of it. It's big time college football. You make promises to graduate students. And if you can't back up those, and that's what we're going to be looking at probably about 2 different graduate transfers every single year, especially since they've shown success for this past year with our left tackle.
Calvin Anderson. The fact that we don't even talk about him is great.
Yes. And I mean, if you get that playing time and hey, we can promise you this amount of touches or these amount of routes or how many percentage of you being on the field for offensive plays, that's
he has to get his touches.
Yes, and that's what he said. That you got to think. High school is very political. College is its own politics.
I agree. I don't know if that's I just would like the rotation to be a little tighter then.
Well, I mean,
because they
did get 19 rushes.
No, he did. It's just, but it's like, the first quarter, I'm like, there was some runs in there where I'm like, yeah, Keontae Ingram breaks that tackle. You know, no doubt in my mind. And I'm like, it can't be. He hasn't fumbled.
Nope.
So it can't be because I haven't seen him just be, make egregious errors in pass pro. So I'm like, why? Like, he's healthier. He's not wearing the knee brace anymore. So what's going on? To your point, I think that's correct. To your point and your brother's point, I think that's correct. But we saw this same thing play out with the wide receiver rotation early in the year, where they were also playing that game of you get to play this series, and then we ended up with Josh Moore on the field in 2-minute drill because they're doing this crazy rotation thing before they finally settled on Colin, LJ, and Devin. So they have, I had one Texas fan, I was talking to a guy at work, and he was like, well, they started off with 4 because remember Kyle Porter was playing and your boy Daniel Young was playing, and now it's just 2 people. So they have, it's just like, can he get a couple touches in the first quarter? But that's nitpicking.
I think we're going to probably see him get maybe close to anywhere between 18 and 22 touches from here on out, which I think 19 touches was definitely his.
And I'm not saying Trey Watson shouldn't play. I'm not saying that. You have to have multiple runners. And Trey Watson is not bad. If it's blocked for 4, he's going to get you 4. If it's blocked for 10, he'll get you 10. He's going to get what's blocked. It's just that dynamic, that jump cut ability to say, oh, there's only 2 yards here, but there's a whole backside that only I can see. And you even saw a little bit more speed from Ingram as well. He had a phenomenal game.
Yes.
Really picked up the slack for.
I love how he said he had an F game too.
Yeah, he gave himself an F for the game.
I love that.
Let's talk about the defense. I'll let you start. What were your impressions on how we defended the Baylor offense? Obviously going against, it was Charlie Brewer's homecoming. Those we mentioned the 2 NFL wide receivers. We do hold Baylor to 17 points. But just in terms of how the game played out, specifically the last drive.
The last drive, let's just say when we dropped that interception in the end zone,
Brandon, yeah,
I think I yelled out the loudest curse word I think I've ever yelled out in my life, and I scared people in my house because, mind you, it was a 3-year-old's birthday party. I did, and my thing is I've seen it happen where we drop a sure-handed interception in the next play.
Like Gideon.
Yeah, I know. So that to me is like I expected more from Brandon Jones on that, but I mean. We played the very last play perfectly. We cut off the angles where he had to throw it super high and threw it out of bounds.
Pressure.
I mean, we got pressure, yeah, with 3-man rush.
I will say this: the defensive, the pressure we got on Charlie Brewer all day was excellent. I thought Charles Menahue had another good game. He's actually starting to put together a good reel of consistent film for his senior year.
BJ Foster's found himself.
He's basically playing where we ultimately put Hall last year. But he's faster. But he's faster, right? Yeah. And he can actually run across the field with some guys in coverage if they need him to. But right now they're just like see ball for him, see ball, hit ball, and he's executing. Obviously, the Wolf.
Yes, he had a bad game, Oklahoma. He did. It wasn't even a bad game. He still was.
But he bounced back.
Yeah, he bounced back.
That's what you want to see, like especially with a young guy, a true freshman. You're gonna get in your head after one bad week, or do you go back, evaluate the film, correct your mistakes, take better angles, and get better? And he comes up with a huge interception, like we've seen all year, reminiscent of it was like the Tulsa interception, but like on the other sideline, right? So overall, the defense, the corners, they had their hands full this week. I thought they held up okay.
If you take away that 40-yard touchdown from Mims, they held their own.
They did
against that team.
They did.
I think I know he didn't play most of the fourth quarter, but I think they held him to 88 yards.
This was one of Brecken Hager's better games, and I wish I'd said this on the video last week, but the matchup for Brecken is going to be a lot about matchups, and I felt like Baylor's the type, just the way they play. Brecken's going to be able to basically be kind of like that 3-4 edge rusher where he can He doesn't have to have his hand in the dirt. He doesn't have to play run a whole bunch.
Speed.
He can just use his speed, use his technique, and get around guys. And he was outstanding.
I expect the same thing from him this week again.
Oklahoma
Next week
State.
against Oklahoma
Yeah,
State.
and he had a big game against OSU last year. They had a lot of trouble with him, his quickness. And I think I give him credit. He's stepping up in the absence of Malcolm Roach, you know, because he's had to play more and play kind of multiple positions. You know, Jeffrey McCullough, hopefully he's okay after the car accident we heard about where he hydroplaned. But, you know, those two guys have been asked to do more. Taquan Graham has actually kind of come in and played more of where Brecken was playing before. And they're just much better at the point of attack. I thought this was Chris Nelson's best game of the season. Chris Nelson was outstanding, guys, in pass and run. Did a great job, was blowing up gaps, creating plays. Gary John, I mean, the defense as a whole, you know, again, holding Baylor to 17 points. You know, you essentially they gave up the one touchdown in the second half. But for the most part, you know, our opening drive stuff, it just is what it is. Todd Orlando is just trying to, you know,
feel out.
Get a feel.
It's a boxing match for him. Feel him out. Feel out the first round.
So
one person I want to give a good big call out to, our punter. He actually had a pretty good game.
He did.
He didn't have any shanks.
I'm glad you called that out.
He didn't have any shanks, and I don't know what his averages were, but it was way better than he has been all year. This was his best game.
The bounces he got where, you know, the ball hits and it goes back 10, 15 yards. That's all we need.
Yeah.
You know, we're not asking. We're never going to get Michael Dixon again.
No.
Let's just.
He's
that's a once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Kicker, right? You know, Cameron Dicker had an amazing first half, and then, you know, I think he missed that 30-yarder. He missed. You know, that was disappointing. The 50+ yarder kick. I mean, anything.
And they weren't bad misses
No.
either. I mean, they're right there, and I don't think his confidence. He doesn't seem like a kid who's going to get his confidence shaken.
No, I'm not concerned about him. I think he'll
kind of
kick
reminds
well.
me of like Adam Vinatieri. The game was on the line. I feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah,
with
he doesn't even need
Apparently.
he doesn't even need to warm up for game-winning kicks. I want to talk about Oklahoma State a little bit because, guys, by the way, next week we are going to do a mid-season show since we don't have a game this week. Trent, can you actually go to the NCAA, the big games this week? Because I want to talk about that too. But next week we're actually going to do just full mid-season recap. But right now we're actually going to go into a little bit of Oklahoma State prep, just some things we want to discuss real quick.
You want the big games for everyone?
Yeah, that's perfect. Top 25. So let's start with Oklahoma State, and then we'll go into games Texas fans should be watching this weekend.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, I mean, they aren't as powerful as years past. I mean, but the issue is we haven't won in 4 years, so they should definitely have our attention. And we can beat them there. I personally think that we can actually beat them with Shane Buechele by the way that Ingram has been playing. I think if we run the ball and protect it, and honestly, I don't think anyone in the Big 12 can guard either Colin Johnson or LJ at all.
I don't know if they can win the game with Shane, and that's okay. We disagree there. I don't think they can win. I don't think they can win with Shane. I think Oklahoma State would literally just sell out, and to me he struggles under pressure. He doesn't get the ball out quick enough for my taste against the blitz. That's something that Sam has actually gotten a lot better at, but some of that just comes with playing over and over again and the consistency. Now they do have. With the bye week here, they do have more time.
A little bit comfortable
to
that they can prep for it.
Yeah, they can say, hey Shane, what are the 20, 25 plays that you feel most, and we'll just build our whole Oklahoma script off of that. They could do that. I do believe, though, in terms of offensively, when they had Mason Rudolph, Justice Hill's still there, but Mason Rudolph and James Washington. The way we played them in Austin last year, obviously we held them to 10 points in regulation. This is an offense that Todd Orlando has been very good against. He understands, you know, their offensive scheme, what they want to do. They're not as skilled and talented as they've been. They've had, you know, they had trouble scoring on Texas Tech. Texas Tech defense is better than people give it credit for.
They're a lot
But
better.
Oklahoma State, I mean, I'll be real with you, like they're not as on paper, talent wise. This is all about mental and winning in Stillwater. For example, I'm talking to a coworker today, and he's like, "Hey, you know how it is when we go to Stillwater, these crazy games, and obviously we harken back to like the Vince Young games and some of the other crazy ones we've had. But to me, like just like it was with Kansas State, go there, get out early, handle your business, and let your talent take over. You're not playing against a juggernaut here." And I'm not trying to disrespect the opponent, because if you let that mental stuff creep in, then it'll turn into a crazy night. It's close to Halloween. You know how and their energy there is craziness, right?
And we're a top 10 ranked team.
And that game's a night game. It's a night game. It's going to be on ABC. A lot of attention. But again, and we say this every week, these two words, they're battle tested. And now with this being this is probably going to be the hardest road environment, all things considered, that they've played all year. But again, like Oklahoma State is not that good this year. It just is what it is. I'm not impressed with what I've seen from them over the last few weeks. I actually follow, I have some friends of mine who are Oklahoma State fans, and they've been complaining all year, about various things. They've had people be transferring, all sorts of stuff going on. You got to step on their necks. Now, with that being said, I do think we'll be able to pull out, victory. Let's do our predictions and stuff next week. I mean, I know I'm not concerned, but I know things could possibly change in terms of health of players and other aspects between now and the game the following weekend.
Right.
What games this weekend catch your eye?
I'm going to start off with a Big Ten team, Maryland versus Iowa. If Maryland's actually 4-2, that one of their losses is to Michigan. So if they beat Iowa, our loss doesn't look that bad, as bad as it did at the beginning. Because all the national pundits say, hey, if you want to lose at the beginning of the season.
Lose early.
And we lost the first game. And if we lose to a team that is in a Power 5 conference, that will be at that point 5-2 at that, and then have knocked off a top 25 team.
And not to make excuses, because we lost that game, fair and square. But because we're getting into the season where, and I did these videos last year, I will continue to do this year, where we go into the playoff when the committee gets together and they put out their rankings. It's all about your resume, and every win or loss has a story. And the story from that Maryland game, we lost by less than a touchdown with the opportunity to win the game in a rain delay situation.
First game of the year at FedEx in a weird, playing at FedEx Field. So again, not making excuses. Maryland, congrats, y'all were the better team that day. Y'all beat us straight up. No disrespect at all. But that game has a story. And that's your only loss. Yes.
And it's early, and you've shown immense progress since then. So when they begin to because when the committee comes out, our strength of schedule is a lot better than most of these teams. Like Alabama hasn't played anybody yet.
No, really. Not yet.
Except for Texas A&M, that was their only true top 25 game, right? So a lot of these teams, like Michigan is playing Michigan State this week. The only other team I can really look at, two teams, LSU and Notre Dame, that have really played, boom, 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 up there with what we've faced. But Oklahoma TCU, that's another game that catches my eye. Obviously, Oklahoma trying to rebound. That I believe this is their first game since they played us, and they're looking to try to get in position to attain a spot in the Big 12 championship game and keep pace. It's probably an elimination game for TCU if they're not eliminated already. So across the board, Michigan State looks like the biggest. Is there anything else we got on the slate that we need to? Alabama gonna beat the hell out of Tennessee. Yeah. So Michigan State is the big one, and then Maryland Iowa is something else we need to pay attention to. But overall, guys, very exciting weekend. Just to take a look at what some other teams across the country are doing, paying attention to some of the teams that are ranked ahead of us right now, seeing who we can leapfrog. Hey, Michigan's at Michigan State. They could potentially lose. Right now, like I keep saying, everything's in front of us. LSU, yes, they're in front of us. They have to play Alabama. Somebody's going to get knocked off. They already knocked out Georgia. So, we got to just continue to handle our business. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, health willing with Sam, all things are good to go. I will be paying attention to what the practice reports are. Because I think Tom Herman said if he's throwing by the end of the week, then one other thing I wanted to touch on. I know we've been really critical of Shane Buechele, but I don't know if you got a chance to see his emotional speech in the locker room
afterwards.
Yeah, that's what football's about, man. Like, cut out everything, like getting out of there, and just you could tell like he was the guy. For those, I know we have short memories about things. He was the guy. As he started the Notre Dame game, true freshman. He was Charlie Strong's, signature quarterback recruit. And when Tom Herman got here, he was his opening day starter against Maryland, and he lost his job. And he's a guy, like they said, he hasn't been getting reps. It hasn't been a quarterback competition. You are now the backup quarterback. And to be ready when called upon and do enough to get us out of that game, you could see the emotion in his face and his teammates.
And to that effect too, is that we're lucky to actually have a guy who has big game experience to play.
He came into the season with the most starts in the Big 12.
I believe that's absolutely correct. And I thought it was a blessing in disguise that we had him at that given point, because I don't know if Casey Thompson would have been,
or Cameron Rising, one of those two, because it's a lot to ask when you're a freshman and you've never played, right? Mm-hmm. But a guy like Shane who understands how to stand there and get what he needs out of a rep without going through it himself, I think that's a big deal. And in a climate today where many guys transfer, for good reason. I'm not saying I disagree with it or anything, but we are thankful that we have him here. Now, do I think we still need Sam Ehlinger? Absolutely. But to have Shane get us through, that's why you need everybody. And in a Tom Herman offense, as we've seen over the years, he can go through some quarterbacks, just the nature of the business. We saw that firsthand with Ohio State. So for Shane, I'll actually put the link to that in the description for those of you. I shared it on Twitter, so if anybody didn't see that, it was really, really cool moment, and you could see the team.
It wasn't fake too. It wasn't forced or anything. You could see him fighting back the tears of him being so happy that the team had his back when he was playing.
Love what Tom Herman said too, even after Shane spoke. So you can see just the thankfulness that Tom Herman has getting out of that game, and hopefully the coaches, will be ready either way they decide to go. I'm excited for our mid-season video next week. Y'all hit us up in the comments. Let us know anything y'all want us to touch on in next week's show. And let's enjoy this bye week and get back at it. Hug 'em.